Okay, now I'll start speaking. You know, you would think that, dear, you would think that a dead man would give me less trouble, honestly. But no, that's not the case. In fact, it makes my life worse and more hectic, and there's a lot more rumors that fly around my head, like, oh, she killed her husband. She's a horrible person. She's evil and of the devil. And she's not that pretty. You know, things like that. They float around. Stuff happens. Okay, maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. My name is Tamar, and I come from, well, I'm a Canaanite. Let's just say that. I wasn't born Hebrew. I didn't worship Hebrew God. I almost said gods. But I learned of the God that I worship now. See, my story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. But the beginning of my story really starts in the middle of my life. Okay, I married a man named And I know, weird name. But I married him. I married him, and we lived together for 4 years. Now, I'm 18, so I was 42. Good job. I was 14 years old, and was old. He was old. Yeah. He wasn't nice. In fact, to be serious, he was probably the meanest person I've ever met. He was malicious, he abused me, he beat me, and he was cunning. He made my life hectic and worse than it had been when I lived with my father. And when I lived with my father, it wasn't that great. So, when died, here's how it happened. Judah and had a fight. And claimed that he was going to give his first son to one of his pagan gods, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just fell on the floor. And I, being the closest to him, got all the blame. I was literally called a witch, and I was a horrible, horrible person for killing my husband. And this doesn't make any sense because I had no sons. Why would I want to kill my husband? Why? It doesn't make any, it gives me nothing at all. Sure, I can marry Onan, which I did, and that was a different worse. You know, better of two evils. Onan, not so much, you know. Instead of being malicious and angry and abusive and drinking, he was drinking and not giving me sons. And Onan's job really was to help me so I could give sons to I could pass on his line, but I didn't get to because Onan was mean and selfish, and it wasn't my fault. I promise, it wasn't my fault at all. I tried really super hard. I dressed up nice, I smelled not like camel poo. I tried really super hard. That man is stubborn. Well, I should say was stubborn. That man was stubborn. Because unlike Onan and I had a fight. And in that fight, I said, "You refuse to give me sons. What am I supposed to do? I can't just produce them on my own. I don't know what you want me to do." And he said to me, "I'm not giving you sons. Are you crazy? I hate I hated his line should die." And I looked at him and I just was like, "Are you really? Awesome." And then the next morning, I roll over and there's his cold, stiff body next to me. That was lovely. Because not only now am I a witch, but I'm a horrible, horrible, horrible person. That's 3 horribles, not 2. And it's worse, because everyone thinks, oh, if she marries my son, yeah, I want my sons to die. No. So I went to Judah's house, and this is where it starts. I stand before Judah, and in our two cultures, Canaanite and Hebrew, I am supposed to have another person to marry, so I may pass on the line, the family line. But Judah started believing the rumors, and honestly, I believed the rumors too. I thought, maybe I am a witch. I didn't like him very much, and then he died. I didn't like her very much. Look where that got him. So, you can see my turmoil producing here. Anyways, I stood before I stood before Judah, and he said, so, Tamar, lovely Tamar, yeah, so Sheila, not so old. Maybe you should come back later, so, yeah, you can marry him later. Just do that. Come back when he's old enough, and then you can marry him. And I said, okay. But I knew what he was thinking. He was smart. That man is smart. Do not overthink it, but he is. So he sent me away to my father's house, and I became pretty much a slave. I didn't get paid, I got little food, and it was even worse because my sisters were married, and all my sisters had babies. All of them. And they were all boys. They were all boy babies. It was unfair. Why do I get the blame? I mean, I can't help it that I'm the oldest, and I can't help it that I married two people who were like the worst in my life ever. You know? But no, I get all this blame, and I was angry. And so one day in the market, I was depressed and lonely, and I had no way out. And I passed by a boy who was not a boy, really. It was a man. Guess who it was? It was Sheila. And I realized that Judah was not only not going to give me Sheila, but he wasn't even going to call me back to his home. And that was the point where I was like, I need to take matters in my own hands. I need to do this. Because it's not going to happen if I don't. So I need to come up with a plan. I need to come up with a way, to get back to that house, to become something, to become someone. Because in my culture, if I don't have sons, and I don't have babies, then I am nothing. I am lower than the cattle that my father owns. There's not a lot of cattle, so, So, I walked back to my house, and I did my chores. And as I was doing my chores, I heard a maid talking with my mother. And I love my mother, and I know my mother loves me, but honestly, she could really do nothing. She was about as helpless as I was. But she came up to me and she said, oh, Tamar, guess what? It is sheep shearing time. Yes, Mother, that is so interesting. We should talk often. Sheep shearing. So that's in my line of duty. Okay. Oh, Tamar, you don't understand. It is sheep shearing time. Did you know Judah is going to be going to Timnah? Mother, really? Right now? I'm busy. I have things to do. Why are you talking to me about this? Oh, Tamar, you silly little girl. Look at all these beautiful clothes I made your sister. And then she just set them down in front of me and left. Something clicked. Something clicked. I knew. She was up to something. So I thought about it. And I thought, the only way that I'm going to get sons is to wear my sister's clothing. And the only way that I'm going to get sons is to meet Judah in Timnah. So I did. It was reckless. I got up early in the morning. I changed out of my widow's clothing, which was all black. And I dressed into fine clothes, and I wore jewelries. And I gotta say, I looked nice. I looked better than nice.